Back to Miller. Oh my goodness.
Herbert, sidearm sling, and it's a touchdown.
Tyrese Maxey.
Oh, good spin move by Filipowski for the news. Give him 9.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Beef Up Front podcast here on Pick Swap Media. Your host, Ryan Coyle, back today with another episode, NFL playoffs. We are talking Conference Championship Sunday today, NFC Championship, AFC Championship, birth to the Super Bowl on the line. Biggest game of the season for all four of these teams. And then obviously we'll have two more teams advanced and go to the big game out in Vegas in 2 weeks for Super Bowl Sunday. So very exciting weekend. And I think we can agree Chiefs, Ravens, best two teams in AFC. And then 49ers have definitely been the best team in the NFC throughout the year. You had the Eagles for half the season. You had the Cowboys had a great run. The Lions, I think, though, you can argue from start to finish from that game against the Chiefs, they've been right there the entire season too as one of the top teams. It's just they're the Lions. You couldn't really get over the hump of really fully believing in them. But here they are, one win away from a Super Bowl appearance. So very excited for both these games. I think both of them have potential to be some awesome matchups. Hopefully no blowouts, and we get some good football on this upcoming Sunday. But before we get into today's matchups, we're going to be going through picks and preview, obviously, but also going to throw in some bets as well. Got an anytime touchdown score in each game, and then a few props I like so far. Recording this on Friday afternoon. There will probably be some more plays come game time. Maybe put out a couple videos on social media regarding those, but got a couple props and touchdown picks that I like and that I've already locked in. So we got the AFC game first, NFC second, Sunday, 3 o'clock kickoff on CBS. You got the number 3 seed Chiefs going to the number 1 seed Ravens, first AFC Championship game at M&T Bank Stadium. Ravens are a 3.5 point favorite, over under sitting at 44.5. So just quick thoughts and preview on this matchup. As I'm sure we've all seen this week, Patrick Mahomes is now 9-1-1 against the spread as an underdog in his career, 8-3 straight up. Those numbers are no coincidence. This guy is the best player on the planet, and he wins. Whether he's a favorite or a dog, he finds ways to win games each and every time out there. However, this is the best team he has faced all year with the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens, though, are not an unstoppable force at home. They went 7-3 at home this year. One of those games was a loss to the Steelers where the backups played in Week 18, but it's not like nobody has shown the ability to go into Baltimore and win. The Chiefs certainly can do that, and I think they're the team best suited to do that, obviously, with Patrick Mahomes in this one. But they were a very respectable 6-3 at home against the spread this year. Average margin of victory in those games, too, at home this year, 17.6 points per game. So when they did win at home, they won big, but they also showed the ability to slip up 2 times. And then obviously that Steelers game at the end of the season. They also have a cover margin at home of 11.3 points per game. So it's one of those games where if you think the Ravens are going to win, they might win this one pretty comfortably. If you think this game's going to be 3 points or less, I would encourage you just to take the Chiefs on the money line straight up. If you take out that last game of the season, though, against the Steelers where the starters didn't play, the Ravens lost 3 games this year by a combined 12 points. So I really don't think it's being discussed how good this Ravens team has been from start to finish, how dominant they've been. If they're able to obviously cap off the season with the Super Bowl, then their name might get thrown up there with one of the best seasons in recent memory, at least since 2000. But 3 losses by a combined 12 points in all games this year, besides that Steelers game at the end where the backups played. Very dominant year. But as we know, the playoffs are a different animal, and we've not seen Lamar Jackson win the big one yet. We haven't seen him make it to the Super Bowl. We haven't seen him knock off Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And until proven otherwise, it's kind of hard to have that belief. If his 2 playoff wins are over Ryan Tannehill and the Titans, and then a very young and inexperienced Texans team that played way above their head for most of the season. Give props to CJ Stroud and his ability to play, and it looks like they're going to be a force in the AFC going forward, but they haven't knocked off Patrick Mahomes yet. I have not seen him outduel him on the biggest stage, and as they say, men lie, women lie, but numbers don't. I will continue to back Patrick Mahomes on the big stage until he gives me a reason not to. Chiefs win this one outright, I believe, and go back to the Super Bowl yet again. I'm going Chiefs 27, Ravens 23. So Chiefs plus 3.5 in the over of 44.5 hit in there. All right, my anytime touchdown pick for this game, I'm going with Lamar Jackson at plus 110, and it kind of goes hand in hand with some of the props I like as well. Might be a little bit hypocritical considering I got the Chiefs in this one, but I love Lamar over 65.5 rushing yards and over 10.5 rushing attempts. Those are two props I locked in, along with his anytime touchdown at plus 110. We've seen it in the playoffs. We really saw it with Josh Allen like a lot last week, and we saw it with Lamar last week a bunch too. He hit on anytime touchdown, over in rush attempts, over in rushing yards. It's a playoffs. We get it. You can't hold anything back. During the year, it's easy to be a little bit more conservative with these athletic quarterbacks that like to run and try to limit their design runs as much as possible to keep them healthy throughout the year. But there's no point of holding that back now with only 2 games possibly left in the season. I think they're going to run Lamar as much as possible, even on passing plays. If he doesn't see it, he's going to take off. Some plays where he might in the past just throw it away or slide, I think he's going to try and embrace some contact, get some extra yards, make a guy miss. It's the playoffs. You can't hold anything back. So I love Lamar's rushing yards over, rushing attempts over, and an anytime touchdown. I also like Patrick Mahomes over 27.5 yards too. When we see in big spots on second down, on third down and long, something like that, where the Chiefs need to pick up a pretty significant chunk of yards, Patrick Mahomes is not afraid to use his legs. He's another guy where doesn't like to use his legs unless he absolutely has to. And here we are in the playoffs. We saw it with one big rush last week down the sideline against the Bills. I also have his over rushing attempts of 4.5. I think it actually might have went down to 3.5, but I still like 4.5. I think we see him run the ball 5 or 6 times. And 2, you have to take into account either one of these quarterbacks. Maybe if you're a little bit hesitant on the yards due to the number, look at the attempts and take potentially whatever quarterback you think is going to win this game with his rushing attempts, because you get attempts for those kneel downs at the end of games too. So I think that's something that you have to take into account. But as I said, I'm going Chiefs to win this one outright 27-23. So Chiefs plus 3.5 and the over 44.5, and Lamar Jackson anytime touchdown plus 110. We're going Lamar over rushing yards, Lamar over rushing attempts, Patrick Mahomes over rushing yards, and Patrick Mahomes over rushing attempts. All right, now we go to the NFC. Right now we got the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. Who will be facing off against them? I've talked myself into it. I've talked myself into the Detroit Lions going to the Super Bowl. Sounds weird to say that out loud, but I have talked myself into it. Weather looks like it's going to be in the low 60s, high 50s, no rain, minimal wind. So shouldn't really have an impact on the game. I think that's a big worry with Jared Goff when he's the quarterback, what the weather will be like. But it doesn't seem like that's going to play much of a factor in this one. I picked the Lions actually to lose in the first round to the Rams, and they have more than proven me wrong. I thought they were going to come out nervous, kind of pissed down their leg in that game, and they went out there. They played really well, and then they went out and covered against the Bucs last week too. I'm just so impressed with the Lions offense and the balance that they bring to the table. I think with this running game, if they stick to it and keep that 49ers off the field as much as possible, they can go into San Fran and not just cover the spread, but win this game outright. I think you just have to do everything you can to keep that 49ers offense off the field, because even when they do get on the field, they can score in a hurry. Like if you go out there, you have a quick 3 and out, like we saw the Lions start the game with last week, the 49ers could go up there and be up 7-0 in a blink of an eye before you know it. So this is obviously a big spot for Jared Goff to kind of prove that he is the guy long-term for Detroit. And same with Brock Purdy, with the best roster arguably in the NFL around him. Can he get over the hump and get to the Super Bowl and be San Francisco quarterback in the long term? Huge spot for both these guys to really make a name for themselves in a major way the rest of their career. Jared Goff, no matter what, if they win this game, whether they win or lose next week, he'll be anointed as a legend there forever. And same with Brock Purdy. Can he be that next great 49ers quarterback like we saw Joe Montana and Steve Young many moons ago? Can Brock Purdy be the next guy in this game? But if you don't believe in Detroit to win this game outright, I highly encourage you to take a look at them to cover the spread. The Lions are an NFL best 13-6 against the spread this year. They're 2-1 against the spread as an underdog, with all 3 of those losses coming on the road. With all 3 of those, yeah. And since 2021, since 2021, when Dan Campbell and Jared Goff took over in Detroit, they are 36-17 against the spread, which is the best in the NFL, and they're 21-10 against the spread as an underdog. So they've been a covering machine ever since Dan Campbell and Jared Goff have really taken over the head coach and quarterback roles there. This team has that fire and that grit to them where they're not going to be intimidated going into San Fran. And if I had to bet, Deebo Samuel won't play. He's had these shoulder injuries over the years, and they've forced him to miss time. And they're a completely different team without Deebo in the lineup. I think we see a really high scoring game here, though. as I think the Lions are going to be able to run on the San Fran defense, but I'm not really sure how much the Lions are going to be able to contain San Fran's offense, especially in the passing game. Even if Debo's not in it, they still got guys that can spread it around too, and Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield too. So, like I said, I'm not sure the Lions are going to be able to put up much of a fight in the passing game, especially if Debo plays, but they have shown the ability to stop the run and do that really well. They're the number one rush defense on the year. But I do think we see kind of a back and forth shootout, awesome type game. I think this one is going to be better than the AFC title game. And I do think it's going to be a spot where last team with the ball wins. And I'm going to go with the 49ers have the ball last, and Brock Purdy coughs it up and makes a big mistake. And real doubt questions whether or not Brock Purdy is going to be the guy going forward in San Francisco. And the Lions go to the Super Bowl to face Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in a rematch of the first game of the NFL season this year. So that's my pick on that game. I'm going Lions 30, 49ers 27. So Lions plus the 7 and the over of 50.5. Anytime touchdown in this one. I'm going a little bit off the wall. We're going with Jamison Williams, wide receiver, plus 380. Ambry Thomas, the cornerback for the 49ers, showed last week, and especially that whole secondary. The Packers receivers worked them, and Jordan Love had a really nice game in the early goings. I think Jamison Williams is going to be able to bust the top off and take a deep touchdown in this one, potentially even on like the first drive. Set the tone on this one that we're here to play, and we're coming into San Fran and we're going to win this game. So Jamison Williams plus 380. Also look at him to get potentially longest reception of the game. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but look for Jamison Williams longest reception of the game. He might have one catch, but it could be for 75 yards and a touchdown. A couple other props I like in this one. I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey over 88.5 rushing yards. I know the Lions are the best rushing defense in the league, but I think without Debo, and as we were talking about earlier with Mahomes and Lamar, there's no point of holding back these quarterbacks from running. There's no point of limiting Christian McCaffrey's touches in this one, because if you win this game, you get that extra bye week in between now in the Super Bowl for a chance to completely rest up. McCaffrey should touch the ball if Debo's out 25 to 30 times, I think, in this game between the rush and the receiving. Even look at his combo yards. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I like Christian McCaffrey over 88.5 rushing yards. And we saw last week too. All it takes is one for him. He's going to get his 3-4 yards of carry if the Lions are stuffing it. But all it takes is one 40-yard rush from him, and there you go. His over is going to hit. And I also like his over of 19.5 rushing attempts. As I said, I think he's going to touch the ball a lot in this game. Not really sugarcoating anything there, making any bold statement, but I do think he's going to carry the ball more than enough in this one. So Christian McCaffrey over 19.5 rushing attempts, over 88.5 rushing yards. I look at his combo yards as well, potentially his receptions. I think he's going to touch the ball 25, 30 times. And I like Jamison Williams for an anytime touchdown. I think that's really good value there, plus 380 based off what we saw last week from that Packers secondary. My co-host Kevin Cannon unable to record on the show this week, but he's going with Ravens 24, Chiefs 23. So Chiefs plus 3.5 and the over at 44.5. He goes with Isaiah Pacheco at plus 140 for his anytime touchdown in that game. And then he has the 49ers beating the Lions 27-24. So Lions plus 7 and the over of 50.5. And McCaffrey 2+ touchdowns is what he's going with, plus 160. He says if they're anywhere near the goal line, it's his touches first. And I tend to agree with that there with Kev. So, all right. So I have a Lions Chiefs Super Bowl. Kev has a Ravens 49ers. And obviously we'll be back in a couple weeks to record for the Super Bowl, a mega preview, go through the entire game, our predictions, winner, against spread, over, under, and then a bunch of fun prop bets as well, as always. But thank you, everyone, for listening. Appreciate everyone for tuning in throughout the season. As always, please like, subscribe, and we will talk in a couple weeks for the Super Bowl.